Midnight encounter, the antiseptic smell of the laboratory, hung in the air as Jovan Mercer inputted the final data points into his terminal. At 32, he was the youngest lead researcher on Helios Station. But tonight, the honor felt hollow. 3 years developing medicines that only the wealthy could afford? What was it all for? A soft clatter from the storage room snapped him from his thoughts. "Hello?" Jovan called, grabbing a scanner as makeshift protection. "Security will be here in 2 minutes if you don't show yourself." A small figure emerged from the shadows. Blue skin, 4 amber eyes blinking nervously, spindly limbs, trembling a Vexilian child, no more than 12 in human years. His thin hands clutched a container of Jovan's experimental compound. "Please," the child whispered, 2 of his eyes fixed on Jovan while the others darted toward the exit. "My father will die without medicine." Jovan should call security immediately. Helios Station had strict policies about theft, especially involving non-humans. Vexilians weren't even supposed to be on this level. "What's your name?" Jovan asked instead, lowering the scanner. "Dorith." The boy's voice quavered. "Father has the wasting sickness. The doctors in Lower Ring say he needs enzyme treatments, but we can't afford them." Jovan recognized the symptoms, similar to a human degenerative disease. But affecting the Vexilian's unique 4-chambered heart, his compound wasn't designed for Vexilian biology, but with modifications. "That medicine won't help your father," Jovan said gently. "It might even kill him faster." Tears formed in all 4 of Doris' eyes. "But the man in the market said he lied to you." Jovan felt anger rising. Black market dealers preying on desperate families was nothing new. Even millions of miles from Earth, the station's midnight cycle bell chimed. Security would be making rounds soon. "How did you get in here?" Jovan asked. "Through the ventilation shafts. I'm small enough." Dorith's upper eyes blinked with a hint of pride despite his fear. Jovan made a decision that would change everything. "Put that container back exactly where you found it." Dorith hesitated. "I'm not turning you in," Jovan continued. "I'm going to help you. But not with that medicine. It's wrong for your father's biology. I'll create something that might actually work." Confusion rippled across the boy's alien features. "Why would you help us?" "Humans don't care about Vexilians." Question stung because it was mostly true. Refugees from the Vexilian homeworld were treated as second-class citizens at best. "Not all humans are the same," Jovan replied. "Now hurry. Can you meet me tomorrow at Maintenance Junction B17? It's rarely monitored." Dorith nodded, replacing the container with careful precision. "Thank you," he whispered, slipping back toward the vent. He paused. "My sister says we shouldn't trust humans." "Your sister is probably right most of the time," Jovan admitted. "But I promise I'm going to try to help your father." After Dorith disappeared, Jovan stood motionless, contemplating what he'd just committed to. Creating unsanctioned medication could cost him his career, his reputation, everything he'd worked for. But the image of those 4 desperate eyes stayed with him. Some things mattered more than rules. Part 2. Trust in the stars. Jovan paced nervously near Maintenance Junction B17, a forgotten corridor connecting the research sector to the station's older segments. His bag contained basic scanning equipment and samples he'd borrowed from the lab enough to start. Analyzing Vexilian biology without raising alarms. A soft scuttling from above made him look up. Dorith dropped gracefully from a ceiling panel, but he wasn't alone. Behind him descended a taller Vexilian, clearly female, with deeper blue skin adorned with natural phosphorescent markings that glowed faintly in the dim light. "This is my sister," Nima, Dorith said. Nima's 4 eyes studied Jovan with undisguised suspicion. Unlike her brother's amber gaze, hers was a striking violet. "If this is a trap, human, know that I have ways to protect my family." "It's not a trap," Jovan replied, keeping his voice even. "I genuinely want to help." "Why?" The question was direct, challenging. Jovan considered a diplomatic response, then opted for honesty. "Because I'm tired of developing medicines that only the elite can access. Because your brother risked everything to save your father. And because it's the right thing to do." Something shifted in Nima's expression. Not trust, but perhaps a willingness to consider it. Follow us, she finally said. But if you alert anyone, I won't. It led him through a labyrinth of maintenance tunnels and forgotten corridors. The station was stratified, wealthy residents and corporate facilities above, refugees and laborers below. Few from Joven's world ventured this deep. Their home was a converted storage unit, cramped but meticulously organized. On a narrow bed lay an older Vexillian, his once blue skin faded to a sickly gray. His breathing came in labored gasps. "This is our father, Telvin," Nima said softly. Joven approached slowly, medical scanner in hand. "May I?" After Nima's nod, he began his examination. "How long has he been ill?" 3 cycles, Dorith answered. "It started after the factory accident. He worked in mineral processing," Nima explained. "Exposure to certain compounds accelerates the wasting disease in our people." Joven frowned, studying the readings. "The corporations know this risk exists?" "They know," Nima confirmed bitterly. "Compensation for affected workers mysteriously disappeared during administrative changes." Joven felt ashamed of his species. "I'll need blood samples to create a targeted enzyme therapy. I've been caring for him since our mother died last year," Nima said, her voice catching slightly. "We've tried everything available in the lower ring." As Joven worked, Dorth watched with fascination. "Are you a healer?" "A biochemist," Jovan smiled. "I develop medicines for rich people," Nima added. Jovan couldn't deny it. Yes, but not this time. By the time he finished gathering data, something had shifted between them. A fragile trust forming across the divide of their worlds. Nima's defensive posture had softened slightly as she observed his careful work. "I'll need a few days to synthesize a treatment," Joven said, packing his equipment. "I'll have to be careful not to raise suspicions." As he prepared to leave, Nima touched his arm, the first voluntary contact. "Thank you for seeing us as people, not problems." The simple gesture and words affected Joven more than he expected. "I'll come back tomorrow," he promised. "We're going to save your father." Forbidden research. Joven's fingers flew across the laboratory terminal, checking once more that he'd disabled the activity logs. 3 nights of secret work were beginning to show in the dark circles under his eyes. But he was close to a breakthrough. The central challenge was adapting human medical technology to Vexillian physiology. Their unique biochemistry meant that standard treatments were ineffective or dangerous. Joven had created a specialized enzyme therapy that might halt Telvin's deterioration. But he needed to test it. The lab door slid open, and Joven nearly jumped from his skin. Working late again, Mercer." Dr. Hanaway, the research director, stood in the doorway. "Just finishing some side calculations," Joven replied. "Casually switching screens." "Dedication I appreciate, but station security is asking questions about resource allocations." Hanaway's eyes narrowed slightly. "Apparently some supplies have gone missing." Joven forced a calm he didn't feel. "Budget cuts have everyone paranoid. I've been running extra tests to verify results. Can't afford mistakes." After Hanaway left, Joven exhaled shakily. He was running out of time and excuses. Later that night, he returned to the Vexillian family's quarters with his prototype treatment. Nima opened the door before he could knock. "You look terrible," she observed bluntly. "Thanks," he replied with a tired smile. "How's your father?" "Worse." Dorith finally fell asleep beside him. "He refuses to leave their side." In the dim light of their quarters, Nima seemed different, less guarded. The luminescent patterns on her skin glowed more intensely, a response to emotional states in Vexillians. "I brought the first treatment," Joven said, showing her the carefully prepared injection. "It's not a cure, but if it works, it will stabilize him while I develop something more permanent." Nima watched as he administered the medicine to her unconscious father. Their shoulders touched as they sat monitoring his vital signs. An unexpected intimacy in the cramped space. "Tell me about your world," Joven said softly. Not wanting to wake Dorith. "Was beautiful once," Nima whispered. "Before the mining corporations came, our people lived in harmony with the crystal forests." Her voice trailed off, lost in memories. "You miss it?" "Every day. But it's not home anymore. We're trying to build something new here, despite how your people see us." Not all my people, Jovan corrected gently. Their eyes met all four of hers, focusing intently on his too. Something unspoken passed between them, a connection that transcended their biological differences. No, she agreed. Not all. The moment broke when Telvin stirred, his breathing becoming less labored. The treatment was working. Dorothy awoke, blinking sleepily. Is father better? He's responding to the medicine, Jovan confirmed. It's a good sign. The boy's face lit up with hope. Then you can cure him. It's not that simple, Jovan cautioned. This is temporary. I need more time to perfect the formula. A time he might not have if security continued investigating the missing supplies. As if reading his thoughts, Nima placed her hand over his. Whatever happens, she said, you've already given us something precious. Hope. Jovan turned his hand to clasp hers. Their fingers intertwining despite their different anatomies. Neither mentioned the gesture, but neither pulled away. Race against time alarms blared throughout the research sector, bathing the corridors in pulsing red light. Attention all personnel, the station's AI announced. Security lockdown in effect. Unauthorized research detected in Laboratory 7. All staff report to designated checkpoints. Jovan cursed, grabbing the final vials of medicine he'd just synthesized. They'd discovered his unsanctioned work sooner than expected. The completed treatment enough to fully reverse Telvin's condition was in his hands. But security would prevent him from delivering it. The emergency access panel seemed his only escape route. As he pried it open, footsteps approached from both directions. Chief Security Officer Blackwell's voice echoed down the corridor. We know what you've been doing. Surrender now, and we'll recommend leniency. Leniency meant imprisonment instead of permanent exile. Neither option would help Telvin. Jovan slipped through the panel just as officers rounded the corner. The maintenance shaft led downward, toward the lower ring end, toward Nima and Dorothy. When he finally reached their quarters, he found Nima pacing anxiously. The entire station is locked down, she said without preamble. They're searching for you and us. They know about the medicine. Where's your father? I have the complete treatment. With Dorothy hiding in the old cooling systems, father's condition deteriorated rapidly this morning. Their eyes met, mutual fear reflected. We don't have much time, Jovan said. Either for your father or before they find us. As they navigated forgotten passageways, Nima's hand found his. Whatever happens, I want you to know that you've changed how I see humans. How I see ... possibilities. The unspoken sentiment behind her words made Jovan's heart race. Despite everything their differences, the danger, the uncertainty, something profound had grown between them. I never expected to find you, he replied simply. They reached the abandoned cooling chamber where Dora sat beside their father. Telvin's breathing was shallow, his skin almost transparent. Nima rushed to his side. Jovan has the medicine. Jovan prepared the injection with practiced hands. This should reverse the cellular degradation completely, he explained to Dorothy, whose four eyes were wide with fear and hope as he administered the treatment. Security alerts echoed through the station's announcement system. Getting closer? They're searching this sector, Nima whispered. Then we don't have long. Jovan monitored Telvin's vital signs, watching for the response they desperately needed. Minutes stretched like hours. Then, gradually, color returned to Telvin's skin. His breathing strengthened. It's working. Dorothy whispered in awe. Telvin's eyes opened all for focusing with clarity for the first time in months. What happened? He asked weakly. Before they could explain, the chamber door slid open. Security officers filled the entrance, weapons drawn. Jovan Mercer. You're under arrest for theft of corporate resources, unauthorized research, and aiding illegal residents, Blackwell announced. Jovan stood slowly, placing himself between the officers and the Vexilian family. These people have done nothing wrong. I forced them to participate. That's not true, Dorothy protested. Nima silenced him with a gentle touch. The boy needs medical care, Jovan continued. You can see he's ill. Stand aside, Mercer, Blackwell ordered. Corporate will determine what happens to them. Instead, Jovan took Nima's hand openly. Whatever happens, he said, looking into her eyes rather than at the officers. It was worth it. New beginnings. The hearing chamber fell silent as Jovan finished his testimony. For 3 hours he had explained his actions, the unauthorized research, the medicine he'd created for Telvin, everything except how to reproduce the formula. That knowledge remained his only leverage. Director Hanaway leaned forward. While your methods were unorthodox and clearly illegal, the results are... impressive. The corporation recognizes potential profit in treatments for non-human species. I didn't do this for profit, Jovan replied firmly. No, you did it for them. Hanaway gestured to where Nima, Dorth, and a fully recovered Telvin sat under guard. The question is what happens now. Commissioner Blake, representing station governance, interjected. Mr. Mercer violated multiple regulations, but his actions were ultimately humanitarian. The Vexillian family broke residence restrictions, but their desperation was understandable. The deliberation continued for another hour before Blake announced their decision.
Mercer.
In recognition of your scientific achievement and humanitarian intent, your sentence is commuted to probation. You will continue your research under supervision. Developing treatments for non-human residents? Murmurs filled the chamber as Blake continued. As for the Vexillian family, they will be granted proper residence permits and medical care. Telvin will assist in the research as a consultant on Vexillian physiology. Relief washed over Jovan. Not freedom exactly, but a chance for himself and for them. Outside the chamber, Dorth tackled him with a hug. You saved Father, and now we can stay. Not just stay, Telvin said, extending his hand in the human gesture he'd learned. Live with dignity. Work with purpose. Nima stood slightly apart, her luminescent markings pulsing with emotion. When the others moved ahead, she approached Jovan. My people have a saying, she began softly, that souls recognize each other across the void of stars. I never believed it until now. Jovan took her hands in his, no longer caring who might see. I don't know what the future holds, he admitted. This won't be easy. There will be those who disapprove, who won't understand. When has anything worthwhile been easy? Nima's 4 eyes held his gaze. You've risked everything for my family when you barely knew us. That's the kind of soul worth crossing stars to find. Their first kiss was awkward, her features different from human anatomy, but they found their way, as they would with everything else. Dorth's voice broke the moment. Are you going to be my brother now? He asked Jovan with characteristic directness. Telvin looked mortified. Dorth, that's not appropriate to ask. But Jovan laughed, keeping one arm around Nima. Family comes in many forms, he said. I think we're discovering our own. 3 months later, Jovan's new laboratory in the middle levels of the station, accessible to all residents, was operational. His team included researchers from 5 species, including Telvin, whose first-hand experience with the wasting disease proved invaluable. Nima directed cultural integration programs, building bridges between humans and non-humans. Their relationship flourished despite challenges, each difference between them becoming an opportunity for growth rather than division. And Dorth, now attending a proper school for the first time, proudly told anyone who would listen about the human who caught him stealing medicine and chose compassion over punishment. Sometimes Jovan told him during a quiet evening in their new shared quarters, the greatest discoveries aren't made in laboratories, but in moments when we choose to see beyond our differences. Like you and Nima? Dorth asked innocently. Like all of us, Jovan replied, looking at the family he'd found among the stars.